I woke up before sunrise, expecting silence and a chance to drink my coffee in peace. Instead, my front yard looked like a carnival had materialized overnight. White tents were pitched across my lawn, tables covered with linen spread across my driveway, and people in business suits walked around like they owned the place. A banner stretched across my porch railing read, "Welcome to the Cedar Ridge HOA Annual Gala." I nearly dropped my mug. Standing at the center of it all was Margaret Lane, our HOA president, clipboard clutched like a sword. She spotted me and waved as if this were the most natural thing in the world. "Good morning, Daniel," she called. "I trust you saw our emails. We're thrilled you agreed to host this year's gala." "I never agreed to anything," I said, my voice shaking with anger. "This is my property, and you need to get off it right now." Her smile didn't falter. "We sent multiple confirmations. Over 200 guests are on their way. Caterers, photographers, even the mayor. It's too late to back out now." It was surreal. Strangers were hammering stakes into the ground where my late wife planted roses. I'd lost Claire 2 years ago, and I hadn't allowed anyone near her garden since. Now a group of realtors were taking selfies in front of it. My stomach turned. Margaret tilted her head, her tone dripping with condescension. "Daniel, don't be unreasonable. The community needs this event. We can't let one person's oversight ruin everything." I clenched my fists. "You're trespassing, all of you. Pack it up." That's when she flipped her clipboard and pulled out a folder. "Actually, Daniel, we need to talk about your boundary lines. Your fence appears to extend onto the association's easement. There are documents filed with the county just this week." My blood ran cold. I bought this house after Claire died, desperate for a fresh start, and I hadn't questioned much. I never ordered a professional survey. Was it possible she was right? Before I could respond, my neighbor Thomas jogged over. He was one of the few people I trusted here. "What's going on?" he asked, glaring at Margaret. She pasted on her politician's smile. "HOA-approved community event." Daniel must have missed the notices. Thomas shook his head. He'd never agree to host 200 strangers without mentioning it. This doesn't add up. I almost thanked him, but Margaret's smug look made my skin crawl. She wasn't surprised. She'd been waiting for this. I pulled my phone out and called the sheriff. Deputy Carter showed up 20 minutes later, taking in the chaos with narrowed eyes. Before I could explain, Margaret stepped forward with her folder. "Officer, we have a sanctioned event. Mr. Hale seems confused about access rights. Here's the survey." The deputy frowned as he studied the map. "Daniel, this shows your fence 8 feet into common property. These documents were filed 3 days ago." 3 days. My coffee slipped from my hand and shattered on the porch. Someone had planned this. By 8 a.m., a professional surveyor arrived, with equipment that looked like it belonged at NASA. He measured every inch, then delivered the blow. "Sir, your fence encroaches exactly 8 feet into HOA property. Correction is mandatory." "How much?" I croaked. $15,000, minimum. I staggered back. That was my entire savings. Margaret, meanwhile, looked like she'd won a prize. She kept checking her phone, smiling to herself, as if this was going exactly how she'd scripted it. And then the humiliation got worse. Some kid filmed me yelling at the crowd, locked gate behind me, and within hours, the video was viral. "Angry neighbor ruins community event." Strangers online called me selfish and insane. Margaret gave tearful interviews about a troubled widower who didn't understand community values. I wanted to smash the TV when I saw her crocodile tears. By noon, Thomas sat at my kitchen table, scrolling through HOA documents online. "Daniel, this event was planned months ago," he said, showing me contracts with my address listed as the venue. Catering, insurance, permits, all signed weeks back. And the surveyor? He was scheduled days before today. I stared numb. It wasn't coincidence. This was coordinated. Then my phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "Stop digging into the survey. Claire couldn't protect you from everything. Some secrets died with her. Leave them buried." I froze. My wife had been gone for 2 years. Who would drag her into this? "Thomas," I whispered, handing him the phone. His face darkened. "Daniel, this isn't just a boundary dispute anymore. Someone's targeting you." Margaret was still outside when I confronted her. "What's phase two?" I demanded. Her eyes flickered. She clutched her clipboard tighter. "You're imagining things. Vendors, that's all." "Vendors don't hire surveyors," I snapped. Before she could answer, I noticed two men leaning against a car across the street. They weren't neighbors. They scanned the crowd like security detail, one of them raising a phone to discreetly photograph me. Margaret stepped back into the shade, making a hushed call. My gut twisted. This was bigger than an HOA president drunk on power. That afternoon, Mrs. Collins, the oldest resident in the neighborhood, pulled me aside. Her voice was sharp as a knife. "Margaret's been asking questions about your finances for months. She even asked the mailman about your mortgage. She's been circling you like a vulture." The clipboard nearly fell from Margaret's hands when Mrs. Collins confronted her. For the first time, I saw fear in her eyes. And then a black sedan rolled up. Out stepped a man in an immaculate suit, leather portfolio in hand. He smiled like a salesman about to close a deal. "Mr. Hale," he said, extending his hand. "Jonathan Pierce, Pierce Development." "I understand you're facing boundary issues. I'd like to help. My company can purchase your property for $40,000 above market value. Cash. We'll handle the fence correction." The timing was too perfect. He knew the cost before I did. Thomas leaned close. "He's not fixing your problem, Daniel. He created it." My chest tightened. They wanted me out. That evening, tucked under my mailbox, I found a note in unfamiliar handwriting. Claire knew they'd come for the house. "Check the willow tree near the shed tonight. Trust no one." Heart pounding, I grabbed a flashlight and shovel. At midnight, I dug at the base of the old willow until my shovel hit metal. A box. Inside was a stack of papers in Claire's handwriting. She'd known. Legal research, survey maps, even financial notes about Pierce's company. She'd discovered their pattern months before she died. Target grieving homeowners, manufacture a crisis, apply HOA pressure, then swoop in with an offer. She had written, "If they come for you, Daniel, know that this is not about boundaries. It's about control." Tears blurred my vision. She had prepared me for a war I hadn't seen coming. The next night, the HOA called an emergency meeting. Half the neighborhood showed up with signs, some defending me, others demanding community compliance. It was chaos when an accountant neighbor presented evidence of Margaret's gambling debts lining up perfectly with Pierce's interest in my property. Margaret snapped. She lunged at someone recording the meeting, screaming, "You don't understand. People are counting on this deal." Her mask was gone. She admitted she owed nearly $100,000 to loan sharks. Pierce had promised to clear her debts if she delivered my property. The room exploded with shouting, and then Pierce himself walked in, calm as ever. "Ladies and gentlemen," he said smoothly, "I can solve this conflict right now. I'll buy the property above value, correct the easement, and preserve community harmony." For a moment, people cheered. He looked like the savior. But I stood. This isn't about community harmony. It's about a criminal enterprise using our HOA to steal homes. My wife knew. She documented everything. Gasps rippled when I displayed Claire's notes. Photographs of Pierce with Margaret months earlier. Legal records of similar acquisitions in neighboring towns. 6 families in 2 years had been forced out the exact same way. Margaret crumbled into sobs, confessing Pierce had manipulated her desperation. But Pierce's smile barely wavered. That's when the county inspector walked in. Someone Claire had contacted before she died. She took the microphone. "Pierce Development is under investigation for fraud, elder abuse, and property racketeering. This meeting is evidence." The room erupted, and then Thomas, my supposed ally, was exposed. The inspector revealed he had been feeding information to Pierce for months, reporting everything I told him. My stomach dropped. The man I leaned on was their spy. Deputy Carter arrested him on the spot. Pierce tried one last threat. "You don't know who you're dealing with, Hale. I'll bury you in court." But it was over. The inspector presented sealed warrants. His company was finished. The days that followed were a blur. The county forced Pierce into bankruptcy. Margaret entered treatment and community service. Our neighborhood rewrote the bylaws, creating protections for vulnerable homeowners so no one else could be cornered the way I had. And me? I found a new purpose. Claire hadn't just left me warnings, she left me a mission. Her notes detailed patterns across multiple states. Families, widows, the elderly, targets who never stood a chance. Now I spend my nights reading her files, helping others prepare for the predators who circle when people are at their weakest. Sometimes when the house is quiet, I imagine Claire sitting across from me, that small smile she wore when she outsmarted me at chess. She knew I'd need a reason to keep going after she was gone, and she gave me one. I'll never let the HOA, or anyone like them, steal another family's home, not while I'm still breathing.